And so welcome folks to our CCNA CyberOps. This is the non-grant class, so that's for me, not for any of you, but thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you in the class. You and your 18 co-classmates, we've got a good class, and we're going to spend some time going through different things that you need to know about the course itself. We're going to start out, I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop, and I'm going to show you the different areas that we're going to use in the class, and I'm going to pull out some things here. I'm going to pull chat out, so feel free to chat if you don't want to unmute yourself and talk. I'm also going to pull the recorder out so I can see that myself. Right now, we are going to have weekly meetings. My plan is to have them on Mondays. Right now, that's the idea. We don't necessarily, if Mondays is not going to work for this class, I can also change that. I'll be honest with you, I have another series of 3 CCNA CyberOps classes that start on Monday, so I may try to integrate your 2 classes together. All of your due dates are the same and everything, so I may try to have a single class meeting with everyone just to keep things kind of together. But I wanted to meet with all of you because I want to make sure you know what's going on in the class today before the weekend's here, so you don't have any questions that you're carrying over into the weekend. So, to begin with, the first thing you need to do is log into moodle.stanley.edu, find your class, which is the May to August class, and you probably should have seen that already, and then just do this first assignment. And quite honestly, that's just about all you're going to do inside of Moodle. That's it. That's really for us to show that you've attended, quote, attended class, that you are in class and you are working. The majority of our work will be done, and actually almost all of our work will be done at netacad.com, and then the labs will be done either on your local machines, or next week we're going to actually have net labs. Hopefully they will release the CCNA CyberOps labs, and part of the reason they're not out yet is actually my fault because I've dropped the ball on the QA. Had a lot going on and put them behind, so I take full and total responsibility for that one. But they should be out next week. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how this class works because it is different than some of the other classes you may have had. Right now, all of you, if you will, in chat, post if you have had any other Cisco instructor training, which I'm sure you have, but if you've had, just throw in here real quick in the chat, or just let me know. Joe? So anybody else? Joe, hey, Joe. Anybody else? So you can just tell me. Eddie's CCNA instructor. Okay. Greg's had CCNA and CCNA security. Good, good. Oh, wow, cool. Awesome, Sean. Sean is a prior CCA through Macon, Georgia with Joni. Yeah, Joni, she's good, real good. CCNP switch and CCNA, all CCNA courses. Okay, good. Yeah, I know, Kendra, you've been in about as long as I have. Very good. I've been, just to give you a little bit of background on me, I've been in the Academy program for over 20 years. I've been a CCNP for, well, since 2001, I think is when I became a CCNP. I just had to recertify 2 years ago, right before I got hit by a truck. So I'm actually got to recertify next year, before March. But, so I'm a CCNA, CCNP, CCNA security. I am 1/2 CCNA data center, and right now I'm 1/2 CCNA CyberOps. I passed the Sec Fund. I've got to pass Second Ops. We just put in a new data center over the last 30 weeks, so my life has been T-shirts and trying my best to catch up with stuff. So it's been kind of crazy. But if you've had, all of you have had these Cisco courses, you're going to see that this course is different than anything you've had before. It's pretty unique, and I really like it. So I'll kind of just leave it there. So first part. Do your Moodle assignment, do your introductory assignment. If you don't, I have to drop you. It's that simple. Everybody in this meeting's already done it. There's only 2 folks that need to do it, and I will continue to pester them until they do it. Otherwise, I have to drop them out of the class, which I don't want to do. Now, once you do that, you should have received a seat token from me that you redeemed to get into your CyberOps class. How many of you, anybody in the chat right now, not have their seat token? Because I can give you one right now if you need one. Does anybody need another one? They're only good for 24 hours, so if you don't actually put them in. Kendra, I dropped you in automatically. In fact, anybody that I knew was an existing instructor who had been in our classes, I went ahead and put you into the class without sending you a C token. I just dumped you in the class because you were already in our database. So, does anybody here in this list need me to do it? Give you a C token before we go in. All right. Quick question, and I hate to actually ask this because it shows that I don't keep up with everybody. Okay, good. All right. But how many of you had class with me? I know, Kendra, you've had some classes with me. Anybody else? Greg did not? Okay. Greg, your name is extremely familiar for some reason. You didn't do CCNP training with me, did you? Down in brand new? Okay. All right. All right. Well, cool. Well, let me show you how things work then. In our class, as you go in, well, real quick, let me show you one thing I've done already. Your class starts May 30th, and I've got it ending August 31st. Now, the official end date of this course is August 14th. I am going to be taking FMLA for those who don't know me. I know Kendra knows me, but I was hit by a truck 2 years ago while cycling, paralyzed from the neck down, and I'm still trying to recover, still have issues with hands, feet, balance, all these things. So I'm going to go back to a special spinal cord rehab area in Atlanta for a couple months. So in the fall, I will be taking at least 2 months, maybe 3 months off. So if you can get finished by August 14th, that would be great. If not, I always give a couple weeks after the end of class because I know that, thank you, Greg, very much, but I know that people don't always finish by the exact end date. So be aware when I ask you, to do another login for Moodle on the 14th or near the 14th, that's just so we can, quote, have attendance. I will leave the class open a little bit afterwards, after that August 14th date, if you don't get finished. If you can finish, great. I'll accredit you and you're ready to go. If you can finish early, great. That's no problem. I'll accredit you and let you go. But be aware that's why it has a longer date on it than what is actually on the course listing. Now, in this course, one of the places and the way that we do our course primarily is I use the modules area. So when you log in, go to the modules area, and you will see a series of items. You'll see the course introduction. Now, many of these items that are in here, I put in here. These are items that typically you only see these first 4 items when you create your own class. Everything else is in a shell that I have created. In fact, when you go down and look at chapter 1, you will see that for all the labs, I have a link to the labs, and I have a lab upload where you actually upload it. When you complete this course, I will give you this shell, and you will be able to take it and use it at your own schools. And I even have a video to show you how to import the shell into your classes. And it will save you a great deal of time because you don't have to go through and make all the assignments for your particular course. This course, one of the things I want you to know is there is an ethical hacking statement here. And as you read this, it does talk about the fact that this course teaches you some techniques and tools that could be considered illegal in some areas. For that reason, it is very, very much recommended that you use the sandboxed environment for these classes. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. We're also going to talk about the fact that if you have NetLabs, how many of you here in the course have NetLabs at their schools? Anybody? Greg's got VE, good. We actually just moved to VE, Greg, this past week during our transition. And the reason I waited so long is because I had to wait to get a time window where I could actually not have classes going on. And I still had to move people over. So, seeing that last video, we got one, Greg. Well, Greg, there will be labs available for you to load for your students. And we're working on a project that will make NetLabs VE and Cyberops available for a large audience down the road. So, but be aware that in the way this class runs currently, yeah, I like that one. I got 18.2 on mine, yeah, where they can extend the labs. That is really good. But the way the labs work right now, let's go ahead and show you, is you're going to need to do the labs a computer with at least 8 gigs of RAM, and I'm going to tell you 8 gigs is the bare minimum. I suggest more. I would suggest 12. I've got 32 on the machine sitting on my desk, but I would say minimum 8. Okay, for the chapters 1 through 10, you're going to have to load a single VM. You're going to have to load a single Cyberops VM workstation that you can put on your machine. I'm going to show you some videos. I'm going to move those videos over so you can see them, but I've got a video showing you how to install VirtualBox and how to actually install the VM. Okay, but for the first 10 chapters, you only need 1 VM. For chapters 11 through 13, you've actually got to have 4 VMs set up. And that's where it becomes a little bit of a problem if you don't have at least 8 gigs of RAM. So our very first lab, one of the first labs we're going to do, is going to be installing the Oracle VirtualBox. And I know a lot of you are going, well, I don't want to use. Okay, Greg, I know you took the words out of my mouth. No, they will not currently import into VMware. They will not import into VMware Workstation. The current images will not import into our VE boxes. They have been changed. You got them to work? Okay, cool. How'd you do that? What did you do to change them? Did you do the VMware converter? Is that what you used? I'm interested now, Greg, because I couldn't get them to work. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but what did you? We'll talk more about it. We may do a video on that if you don't mind. The supported image or the supported virtualization is VirtualBox. And the reason they went with that is because it is free. I will tell you this: I had somebody having issues, and one of the issues was that they had an older version of VirtualBox. They upgraded to the newest version, worked perfectly. So now the image file is right here. When you click here, it will download it. Okay. And that is the Cyberops workstation image. Okay. Now, what I want you to know is that that's the only VM you need for the first 10 chapters, except for you do need a machine that's running Windows to do the labs in the chapter 2, which is the Windows lab. On my YouTube page, which, by the way, if you go to YouTube and search for kcaudle52, so I'm going to put that in, kcaudle52. If you search for that, okay, you will find my page. You'll see Wookie, my dog. Okay. Okay. No simple red root isn't. Okay. Cool. We'll talk more about that, Greg, because like I said, I'm interested in that. But Wookie here, if we go to playlist, right now I don't have you a playlist for ITC classes summer 2018. There will be one here shortly, just as soon as I get this video done. And then I'm going to move the videos over, and I've actually got a set of videos I sent out to you on the introductions. But I actually have the first lab that I will send out, showing you how to do your that first Cyberops lab, installing that. They actually have a video inside the class too, so it's fairly simple to do. It's not anything majorly different that you have to kind of work with. It's just installing VirtualBox and then deploying the OVF. Any questions about that? You do need a beefy machine. Remember that. You need a beefy machine to be able to do this. All right, I want to show you something here. A couple things. Here is the Cyberops Pack. Oh, hopefully it comes in. Yep, there it is. Frequently asked questions about the CSNAPE Cyberops. A couple good things here. Let me tell you, this is the least Cisco course you will ever take in the Cisco Academy. By that I mean it does have Cisco content in it, no doubt. I mean, it talks about Talos, it talks about you know, the web email appliance, it talks about the web WSA, ESA, but this really is a course designed to make you a first-level security operations analyst. And it does a great job at that. It's a very broad, very wide-open class. One of the things I want you as instructors to know is that your students, when they come into this class, there's different pathways, but personally, I don't think anybody should be in this class unless they've had at least introduction to networks and routing and switching essentials. I think someone who's had those two would be fine in this class, but I also think that the student needs to really have some Linux and some Windows experience. We at our school are going to put this into our last semester of the 2-year degree program for network management. And then that way the students have had all 4 Cisco's, they've had 3 or 4 Microsoft classes, and they've had 1 or 2 Linux classes. So when they come into this class, they're not going to be struggling with some of just the commands. All right. So that's where they're talking about prerequisites here. This is what they talk about, and here's what they recommend: networking essentials, IT essentials, introduction to networks. I would like to see routing and switching essentials, but you know, it's all. Michael, good. Michael says they're doing the same thing. Good. I think that's probably the right path. This is a 70-hour course. It's designed to be a full semester course. That's minimum 70 hours. If you want it to be 80 or 90 or whatever, you can, but they want it to be that. There are 45 hands-on labs. Some of them are Word document labs where you just go in and look things up. This class, as an instructor, I will tell you this, it will kill you grading-wise. All of you are going to realize that I'm doing the best I can to try to keep up with grading. Sometimes I just look at it and say, yep, you put something down, it looks, you know, it's not just gobbledygook and it's right. But now that's for you. When I teach this with students, I would have to actually drill down and do the full grading. So be aware that this class is going to have, if you have them do all 45 labs, you're going to have some work and just grading. There are 5 Cisco packet tracer assignments, so not a great deal of those. And let's see here, let's move on down. There are books. Quite honestly, I don't like books that follow just the curriculum that's in the netacad.com. What I would suggest is, and what I'm going to suggest to my students is, I really like the CCNA Cyberops Sec Fund. This book, that's not the one. There it is. This book is good. This book right here, the CCNA Cyberops Sec Fund. This book is really good. I liked it. I used it for my Sec Fund study. That's probably the book I'm going to recommend. The SecOps book is terrible. It is a joke. It is just like a little thin nothing book. So I cannot recommend the Sec 210, 255 SecOps book. It's just not good. So that's my personal opinion. But that's what I'm going to suggest for a book for our students for the Sec Fund anyway. I have not found a good SecOps book yet. Anybody got one out there? If they think there's a good SecOps book during the class, let me know, and we'll look it up. This does prepare you for the CCNA Cyberops exam, and I will tell you it does a pretty good job. The SecOps and Sec Fundamental, they're 2 different tests that are required before you get your security CCNA Cyberops. If you make a 75 or higher on the final exam for this course, you will get vouchers. Your vouchers are, I believe it's 70% off for instructors, unless you're an instructor trainer. So if you're an ITQ qualified instructor, you will get 80% off. But if you're just a regular instructor, you're actually going to get a voucher for 70% off both exams. So make sure you make at least a 75 on the final. All right. Again, requirements, you've got to have a pretty beefy machine to be able to run this. Web browser, VirtualBox, and this is kind of showing you, these are the 4 machines you will use for labs 11 through 13. So you'll have a Security Onion box that's using 4 gigs of RAM, Metasploitable box that's got 512, Kali Linux that's got 1 gig, and the Cyberops workstation, which is 1 gig. So you can just use that same Cyberops workstation that you load for the first 10 chapters. NDG will have theirs out and about here shortly, so that's not going to be a problem. Are there any questions on the FAQ? You understand kind of where this class is going and what this class is about? Okay. I want to show you something else. Actually, this one's messed up, so I got to remove it. I want to show you something that unfortunately took me forever to figure out. All right. When I study for a certification exam, one of the things I do is I go and I download the certification exam topics. All right. I then go through and look at every single one of these and make sure I know them. Now, until a couple, and this is sad, I've been doing this for 20-something years, and it took me this long to figure this out, but I'm going to let you in a little secret. I helped write some exams, and when we were writing them, we had to come up with these very items here. And as we were doing them, we were talking about the words used right here. And then it hit me. And I've got an English degree. That's what's crazy, is it took me this long to figure this out. But you can look right here and know what you need to know about these items. Describe, 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 describe. You're not going to be doing any configuration, because you're describing it. Describe, 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 compare and contrast. Okay, all right. Still, you may be looking at some NetFlow stuff here, but you're not going to be needing to know how to configure NetFlow. Describe, identify, describe, describe, compare, compare, and so you will see describe, describe, describe. All of these items here on this entire exam define these terms. What is a process? What is a thread? What is a Windows registry? You know, what are the hubs? All of it's describing. Identify, describe, describe. Like this, identify. What does that tell me? Identify the types of data. So, in other words, I need to know what a TCP dump output looks like, what a NetFlow looks like. But using these words right here, I can figure out what I need to study and how I need to study it. This is important. It's not that important for this exam, but how many of you get that student who asks you every single time, what do I need to study for the CCNA? What do I need to be able to do for the hands-on portion of the CCNA? You know, what are they going to ask me? What do I need to know how to do? Well, here's the thing. Oh, to change our website. Okay, so let's look. Watch this. If I go in here now, that's not what I want. When a student asks me, they say, hey, what do I need to study for my CCNA? I'll say, okay, well, let's go look. For ICND 1, let's look at the exam topics. Okay, so here they are. So as we look at these, compare, 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 select, okay, select an appropriate, configure. Guess what? You're probably going to have something that's hands-on based around that right there. Configure and verify and troubleshoot IPv6 addressing. Configure stateless auto configuration. Now move on down here. Oh, configure and troubleshoot VLANs. Configure trunk ports and interswitch connectivity. That word right there is all you need to know to tell you what's going to be happening. Guess what? I would not go into the ICND1 test unless I knew how to do port security. Because guess what? Right here it says configure, verify, and troubleshoot. So I better know to put switch port security to turn it on. Show port security to make sure it is on. Switchboard port security, MAC address sticky. All these things right here, the words as part of the listing, the exam topic listing, will help you know how to study. That holds true again in our Cyberops class, folks, because as we go back and look at the 255 exam setup, you will see interpret, output, describe, define, compare, describe, interpret, basic regular expression. So you're going to have to look at a regular expression and know what it does. Identify a NetFlow 5 record, identify, extract. Okay, you know what? I'm going to know how to do this. I'm going to know how to extract files from a TCP stream given a PCAP file in Wireshark. Because right there it is. It's telling me you better know how to do that. Map, compare, interpret, describe, map. A lot of these will be taking and putting drag and drops. The map to me would be a drag and drop. Identify. So you can use those words as a way to help you yourself study. Okay. Every single bit of this is covered in the class. Okay, every bit of it. All these different items. Are there any questions? Anybody still here? Everybody asleep? Everybody, I know what you're doing. You're surfing the net on your screen. I know exactly what you're doing. I do the same thing during meetings. You're surfing the net on the other screen. I'm just messing with you. I really do want you to know if you have any questions. All of these, one of the things I did too is we tried to create some documents to where we were putting down all the different topics and where they're actually found inside of the curriculum. So if you want to do that, y'all can all work together and work on that to put them down. So you know what chapters they're in, okay? Because they are in multiple chapters, which is good. Remember something that I've always learned and I always taught my students, and that is this. If you see something in the curriculum once, it's important. If you see it twice, it's pretty important. If you see it 3 times, it's on the exam. You pretty much know that's true. So, well, folks, what I want you to do, and what we have here, is just our chapters. I'm just going to let you go ahead and start doing your reading. I'm not going to do anything else today. I do want us to kind of, when you look at the course index, one of the things you'll notice is that chapter 1 is kind of an introduction chapter on how and what a SOC is, what your role in a security operations center will be. Chapter 2 is Windows operating systems, so probably everybody here is a Windows expert, or at least knows a good amount about it. So it's a pretty easy chapter, but it's still a good chapter because it lets you go through and look at some items you may not have used before. I actually added a couple extra PowerShell labs into the class that one of my other students gave me, one of my other instructors gave me. There's a entire Linux chapter, and I'll go ahead and be up front with you. I know Linux. I'm not a Linux expert by any stretch of the imagination. I need to learn Linux more than I know it. We do teach Red Hat classes, by the way, but I'm trying to learn Linux more and more every day. And then you'll get to chapter 4, which is the one that we can blow completely through. In fact, I probably won't even spend any time with you on chapter 4 because that's the network protocol and services. You all know that. You know what TCP is. You know what Ethernet is. You know what ICMP. Doesn't hurt to go through it, though, especially some of this ARP, if you're a little weak on ARP, because it does talk about how to do ARP, adding ARP to a machine's ARP cache automatically. Transport, there's a little bit of stuff here, three-way handshake. All this you should know. I mean, it's really DNS. What was one thing on DNS in here? I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it's later on where they're showing you, they're hiding traffic in DNS. Chapter 5 will be nothing for you because it is just items we know. Firewalls, a little bit on NetFlow, but pretty much things that we're very, very common with. And then if you've had any of Security Plus, Chapter 6, do you know what a cyber criminal is? Do you know what a hacker versus threat actor? viruses, Trojans. A lot of this is stuff you've seen before. But I will say this, for your students who may have had, doesn't matter which version of Windows. No, it doesn't. 10, 7, 10 server, any of them should work. They should all work. Okay. Because it's pretty much what we're doing are pretty simple. Some of the labs do have you go into a control panel and use the Windows users, and I never use that thing anyway. I always use computer management, but the user tool to add users. So you can adapt it to however you have it for your classroom. And then we start getting into actual attacks, looking at what security information and event monitoring systems are, looking at different types of attacks. And then we're going to get into how we protect our network. And then this is getting down into a little bit of the Cisco marketing, the threat intelligence, Talos, FireEye, and on through. Full chapter on cryptography. So a lot of that you're going to know because you've had Security Plus. Like I was saying, for our students, it's nice that they get a refresher on this for a class they may have had in their first year in your program. And then we get into endpoint protection, this is pretty interesting because it gets into how Cisco's AMP and some of the other tools work for endpoint protection. Very important chapters on the Common Vulnerability Scoring System and CVE. And then going on down as we move on through, we're looking at actually security monitoring, how to look at different log files using syslog. What does an Apache log look like, an IS log, TCP dump. Remember, when we were looking at those items and it said identify output, well, look, folks, TCP dump, you got it, net flow, they walk through, they start showing you different things. Look, there's a simple net flow version 5 flow record. If I'm not mistaken, there was an entire item on the exam about looking at the different parts of the NetFlow version 5. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that gives you an idea of where we're going with the class. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is awesome for Cyber League stuff. Yes. I think this is, in fact, that's a good, Greg, you bring up a good point. I've got a local cybersecurity competition that we run for Virginia Beach schools next week. And we are going to, this year we gave them this class, but the class came out kind of late, so they didn't have it. This will be the first class that they go through as part of preparing the year-long preparation for the cybersecurity competition next year. And that's really neat because we've got almost 60 students who are going to compete in that local competition. And then my goal is, I kind of see that as a farm league to take them to Cyber League competition and then take them on up to higher level competitions. So, yeah, this is an excellent class to prepare students. Yep, that would be good. Day of NSA, yeah, yep. I see that. I see this as a great way to do that. And I really think the labs are neat too because, if the student does have a machine at home, they can download the stuff and play with it at home. Download the Security Onion and play away. So. All right, I am going to actually stop sharing unless anybody's got any questions. I'm going to turn off the recording. Unless anybody has any questions I want to ask on the recording. All right, turn it off.